From Native American tribes all the way through Europe and Asia, it seems that there's been thousands of reports that detail mysterious large hairy humanoids. Although evidence is lacking, this hasn't stopped people searching for them, and scientists and wilderness buffs alike venture out into the woods in the hopes of finally catching a glimpse of them. It may seem like these sightings have only happened within the last few decades, but carvings and stories have been passed down for centuries, showing that these creatures may have been having run-ins with humans much longer than previously thought. Although evidence is not abundant, others have taken it a step further and detailed that they've had close-up encounters with these elusive creatures. One of these comes from a man called Albert Ostman. The year was 1924. The gold rush may have been over, but that did not stop Swedish immigrant Albert Ostman from giving gold prospecting a go. After spending years in construction and logging, Ostman decided it was time for something different, and he thought he might as well get a little vacation out of it while he was at it. He had heard rumours of a gold mine near Toba Inlet near Vancouver, Canada. The area was lush with trees and surrounded by mountains, the perfect getaway from his recent year-long construction job. He hired a local indigenous man as a guide to the head of Toba Inlet. The guide was a talkative man and told Ostman tales of the area. One tale even involved the rumoured gold mine. According to him, there was a heavily drinking white man who would come and go from the mine, always having gold to spare, but one time he never came back from the mine. They suspected a large hairy humanoid had taken him out, as the creatures had been described throughout the area. He described the creatures as having hair all over their bodies, but they stood upright like people and noted that they were big, approximately 8 feet tall, big enough to leave 2-foot-long tracks. Ostman had never heard of such a creature and brushed the tale aside as folklore. Once the guard had dropped him at the side of the head of the inlet, Ostman asked him to come back for him in 3 weeks. He would camp back at that particular spot once he was finished with his prospecting trip. Over the next week, he worked his way over 10 miles into the wilderness on the hunt for the elusive gold mine. After some time, he came to a spot that he deemed perfect for his permanent setup. He was only there one single night when strange things started to occur. Ostman awoke after a deep and heavy sleep to discover that his entire campsite had been disturbed. He hadn't heard anything the night before and simply blamed it on an animal. On night 2, his backpack had been dumped out. He noted that the food had been taken. Instead of going out to look for gold, Ostman hung around the camp hoping to catch a glimpse at the culprit, but nothing showed itself. On the 3rd night, he was determined to stay awake. He needed to know what was lurking in the darkness around his site. That, however, proved to be impossible. Having obviously fallen asleep, he was awoken by something picking him up off the ground, still cocooned in his sleeping bag. After being dragged and carried for what he believes was 3 hours, Ostman was finally dropped. He described hearing 4 voices, speaking in a language he didn't understand. As the sun came up, however, he got a good look. There were indeed 4 of them. He described them as an old man and an old woman, along with a young boy and a young girl. He estimated the old woman to be over 7 foot tall and 500 pounds. The old man was even bigger. He was sure that his gun would not affect the large man, except for maybe angering him, so he sat and contemplated his escape. The family of large hairy humanoids kept him in a small valley for days, occasionally bringing him sweet roots as food. The young ones who started out shy eventually took an interest in him. He made them water ladles and tossed them old snuff cans to play with, and that's when he came up with his escape plan. He had once heard a story of a man blinding a bull by throwing snuff into his eyes. Next, he threw the young creature another snuff box, this time with a teaspoon of snuff inside. The young boy tasted the snuff and then took it to the old man. It was obvious they enjoyed the taste of it and came back for more. Osman then knew he had to get the old man to eat a box of snuff and then he could hopefully escape. Because of the interest in the snuff, the old man kept getting closer to Osman, eventually grabbing a box and emptying it into his mouth. He swallowed it in one gulp before licking the box clean. After some time passed, the old man became sick. Osman saw his opening and ran. Using his rifle, he shot warning shots as he escaped. He miraculously was not followed. He made his way down the mountain and finally into a nearby camp. He merely told the locals he was lost and did not mention the sight of the mysterious creatures until much later, fearing being called crazy. Needless to say, he never tried prospecting again. The idea of there being mysterious creatures in the wilderness is one that's been echoed by many believers, and interestingly, this isn't the first time that someone has come forward with a story like this, going into detail about how they too encountered large humanoids that towered above them. Scientists have said though that until more evidence is presented, these stories can't be used as fact. So what do you make of these interesting encounters? And do you think that large humanoids exist in hard to reach regions? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.